Well. Welcome to the Midwest Sports Hour. I am your host, Isaiah Bella. It's finally good to be back. I'm so glad to be back. Been up to a lot over these last few months. I moved, graduated college, up to some big things, and now I'm sitting here with you. We could talk some football. I've been waiting a long time for this. It feels like I've been waiting forever for some major sports to come back, you know? It's been fun working with baseball and everything, but I need the NFL and the NCAA on my screen, and that is exactly what's happening. Football is officially back. It's been back for, I guess, the last 2 weeks. Now, I'm not going to get into Michigan football today. We'll do more of that next week. We'll talk about, kind of where everything stands. Tomorrow, though, or today, I guess I should say, because that's when this episode's coming out, is a really huge game. Michigan, Texas. It's going to be the biggest game of the weekend. You know, you've got Michigan defending national champions. You've got Texas coming to Ann Arbor. Quinn Ewers, I don't know where you would place him in the NFL draft, but he is a top NFL draft pick, and he's going up against a defense that has multiple stars, multiple first rounders across the board. You know, Will Johnson, Mason Graham, Kenneth Grant. You got some young studs in Jayshon Barham and Josiah Stewart. I think Josiah Stewart actually is a senior, so he could be up for the draft this year. Derek Moore, Jair Hill, and of course Texas has all kinds of weapons everywhere you look. So that's going to be a very intriguing matchup. Let's just hope that Michigan looks a little better than last week, you know, because I'd say there were a few flaws that stood out to me. None of them quite like the quarterback situation. I was already really uncomfortable with the dual quarterback system. Davis Warren and Alex Orji sharing basically half the snaps. One of them is passing, one of them is running exclusively. Nowhere in between. It's weird. You know, multiple quarterbacks means you have no quarterback. That's like the rule of thumb in football, and it showed up on tape. But, you know, we'll see how it looks tomorrow. I'm expecting a Michigan loss, and we'll just see where we go from there. But intriguing stuff. But for right now, today, we got to talk Chicago Bears. Because the last time we were here on the pod, we talked about draft predictions. And you know what? I think I want to go through a draft recap just real quick. I'm like hiding my face right now with the microphone. By the way, no fancy lights behind me. I usually have a really nice light setting behind me to kind of, I don't know. It creates an aesthetic for the videos for anyone watching. But obviously I moved and I had to tear all those lights down and I got to get new ones. So for now, it's just my plain old room. We're just going off our regular lights. But anyway, besides the point, we have to talk about the draft. Bears had a really good draft. I was there, had a lot of Bears fans, a lot of Lions fans hugging me, trash talking me, saying all kinds of things. But the vibes were off the charts. Detroit was on fire that weekend, you know? Just had a really good time. Had a really good time within those first 9 picks. I'll tell you what, I didn't see... I'll just start with the Falcons, just because I did not see Mike Penix going at number 8. I think it was number 8. Yeah, because the Bears had number 9. Nobody saw that one coming, and that opened the door for the Bears to get one of their top people. So the number one pick was obvious, right? You had to take Caleb Williams. Everybody saw that coming. So I can't say that I was the first to say it. Oh well. But the ninth pick, I don't know if you guys remember. There's a video I posted how long ago of the 7 or 8 people I would hope the Chicago Bears take with their second pick in the first round. And number one at the very, very top of my list was Rome Odunze. Not even close. You know, I was so sure that if the Bears were to take the next step, they want to get Caleb Williams as many weapons as possible. Rome was my favorite. But I thought that just because of Ryan Poles' track record and because of Matt Eberflus's track record, we know that they love the defensive tackle. They love a 3-tech. That is the player that basically they keep the engine running for the defense. That's kind of how I see it, you know. Matt Eberflus's defense doesn't quite work without a strong 3-tech. And Byron Murphy was a player that they talked about a lot. They talked about Byron Murphy. They talked about Jared Verse. I haven't heard too much about Verse as of late, but I saw that he was doing well in preseason. You know, Byron Murphy looks really, really good. But I am so glad they didn't go for those two players and they decided to go with Rome. Actually, it looks like it was confirmed on video. I think it was 1920 Football Drive, or it wasn't on Hard Knocks. One of those two. Ryan Poles wanted to trade up to get Rome Odunze because he thought for sure either the Giants or the Falcons were going to take him, or somebody else was going to jump into the top 10 and take him. He called around and talked about maybe getting rid of a pick or two and jumping up to get him. Didn't have to. Didn't have to do anything. Rome Odunze just fell into his lap, and that's who he got. And I'm so happy. This offense is going to be incredible because of just the wide array of weapons that Caleb and Shane Waldron have to choose from. Rome is so good. You know, he could be a number one on a lot of other teams. And we have him as the 3 to go along with DJ Moore and newly acquired Keenan Allen. He could actually be the 2 at some point, but we'll talk about that later on. So, first round, you get Caleb, you get Rome. That's fantastic. All the other selections taken later on in the draft could be major contributors down the road. Karan Amagaji, you know, he is a tackle, but he could be converted to guard. I think they see him as a guard, and just based on the way they talk about him, he could be a starter. I would hope that after like a year or two, he could take, what's his name? Nate Davis. He could take Nate Davis' spot. I'd be fine with that. That was their 3rd round pick, I think, because I don't think they had a 2nd round pick. Their 3rd round pick, though, no, their 4th round pick was something that surprised everybody, a punter. They took a punter out of Iowa, Tory Taylor. Granted, he was by far the best punter in college. I mean, he was a weapon for Iowa. Many would say he was the best offense that they had. You know, he completely flipped the field at any given time. And the Bears had one of the worst punters in the National Football League last year with Trenton Gill. I can't remember where he went. I think he went to the Saints, and he actually looks kind of decent now. But Tory Taylor is the real deal. So much so that they spent a 4th round pick on him. And then to cap that off, in the 5th round, they did something pretty surprising. They traded back into the draft because they had no other picks after that. and they grabbed Austin Booker out of Kansas. I think it was Kansas. And a lot of people said that Austin Booker could potentially have been a first rounder if he stuck around in college for another year. Very talented guy, raw prospect. In preseason, he didn't look like a raw prospect. He actually looked really, really good. And now he's kind of used in a rotation. Him, Darrell Taylor, and DeMarcus Walker, they're all going to get reps. I hope and pray one of these games, Austin Booker can take a huge leap and solidify himself as a starter opposite of Montez Sweat, because Montez Sweat needs a guy, you know? Can you imagine? Like, next year, everyone has been talking about, like, who do we need to trade for? Who do we need to get opposite of Montez Sweat? Take the edge off of him. Take double teams away from him. Make things easier. Open up the pass rush. What picks do we need to give away? Do we need to sell the farm for Micah Parsons or just do something? I don't know. They looked for Matt Judon, and apparently Judon just got too expensive. Or he didn't want to go to the Bears, actually. He wanted to go to the Falcons instead. So, yeah, I mean, they looked, but it would be really nice if they didn't have to. And it turns out that Austin Booker is just good enough to be a starter. And in the next draft, they can get their official 3-tech, and Gervon Dexter can move to a 1-tech. That'd be fantastic. That'd be great. Then our defensive line is set for years. But yeah, I mean, that was the draft. Overall, I'd give them an A+. It was a really good night for them. You know, they did some things that were pretty surprising, but they addressed almost every area of need. Almost. I'd say most of them. They got some studs, some guys who could be superstars right out the gate. I'm hoping and praying Caleb Williams and Rome Odunze will be that for us. But, you know, we're going to find out on Sunday. So this is going to be a little bit shorter of a podcast episode because I'm still, you know, working on some things, trying to get back into a groove. And I want to get some content out there for you guys. So most importantly, though, I want to get my record prediction out before the Bears season starts. That's the most important thing to me. Have to every year. You know, I missed out on the Michigan season schedule prediction. I still have them at 2 losses. You know, if you guys want to know, I think it'll be Oregon and Ohio State. So there you go. There's my prediction. But I'm a little late to the party for that one. This time around, it's the Chicago Bears, and I am a lot more optimistic about this season than I was about the last 2, 100%. 100%. You know? First of all, let's talk about areas that the Chicago Bears improved. First, you have to talk about Caleb Williams. Obviously, you know, he's the number 1 overall pick for a reason. Matt Eberflus, Ryan Poles, and every single one of Caleb Williams' teammates raves about him as if he's going to be a star out of the gate. I expect that for him. You know, I think things will, you know, let's say kind of like an Andrew Luck type of thing. I'm not saying he's going to be Andrew Luck, right? But Andrew Luck, in his debut, pretty sure he played the Bears. He threw 4 picks, right? And a lot of yards and a few touchdowns. Think it's going to be similar to something like that, but with less interceptions. I think a stat line for him could be like 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, 250 yards. It could be something like that, but it's going to look really good because Caleb Williams throws with confidence. That's his main thing. Whether people think it's a bad decision or a risky decision, it doesn't matter. If Caleb Williams sees a pass that he likes, he's going to attempt to throw it. He doesn't throw a scared football. We've seen multiple times in the preseason where he has a guy open right in front of him, but he's waiting for the big shot to open up down the field. Some may say that's kind of a problem. I guess it is in a way. He did that a lot in college where people would say, like, why isn't he throwing in structure? Or, he has guys open, but he stays in the pocket too long, risks sacks and turnovers, whatever, however you want to spin it. This is how Caleb Williams sees the field. He does go through his reads. He does play within structure when he feels it's needed. But if he sees a play that he wants down the field, he wants to wait and take that one first. That's just how he is. He's a gunslinger. I like to compare him to, he says that he likes to model his game after Aaron Rodgers or Matthew Stafford. I see him more as like a Kyler Murray type. It's just kind of how he moves, But yeah, vast improvement. As much as I like Justin Fields, and I don't want to spend too much time talking about him, Justin Fields has such a tough time playing in structure. He did not read the field very well. And turnovers were a major problem for him. He did improve on some of those things over time, little by little, and I mean little bit. But it was never enough to really pop on tape. Caleb does all of those things much better, in my opinion. And on top of that, he's a leader, right out the gate as a rookie. They voted him as a captain, even though there are a lot of captains on the team. But how impressive that is? They talk really, really highly of him. People freaked out over the whole Caleb Williams addressing the locker room saying, hey guys, we need to clean up after ourselves, basically saying pick up the garbage because there's other people who pick up after us and we need to take accountability. Everyone kept saying, who is he to talk to the locker room like this? He hasn't played a snap yet. No one's going to like this. I've actually had family members tell me that. That guy Caleb Williams you root for, they're going to hate him because of stuff like that. And it hasn't been the case. Every single one of the veterans with credibility anyway, Mercedes Lewis, Jalen Johnson, DJ Moore, they all came right out and said, hey, that really stood out to me. I respected that. And now they voted him a captain in his first year. Caleb is going to be a major reason the Bears win certain games this year. Maybe even certain games they are not supposed to win. That's how I see it. Big improvement there. Next improvement is the wide receiver core. You picked up Keenan Allen. He was wide receiver 1 for the Chargers. You lock up DJ Moore for the next how many years? He was wide receiver 1 on this team and the Panthers with terrible quarterback play. And now you draft Rome Odunze, who eventually could be wide receiver 1 for this team. I think, like I said earlier, I think he could be wide receiver 2 and take over Keenan Allen's spot down the road. I really, really do. He's that talented. He's that good. And I'm shocked that he slipped all the way down to 9. So he's going to pay dividends for us. The running attack is going to be way better. I have never been a huge fan of Khalil Herbert. He has some pretty good lateral quickness, but that is about it. DeAndre Swift moves so many things for us. He's going to do so well in the screen game. And like I said, just weapons across the board, you know? Swift, Odunze, Allen, Moore, Cole Kmet. They signed Gerald Everett. That's, what else could you ask for a rookie quarterback? No one's ever had that before. Not a first round rookie ever. So, yeah, a better offensive weapons, better play caller. Those things usually blend well for a better offense. We are already so far past the days of Luke Getsy. It's going to be beautiful. The next thing is the offensive line. Listen, this is one of the areas that I still feel needs some improvement, especially with the interior. It's not great. And so since the interior is not great, the offensive line as a whole cannot be great. But it doesn't really need to be. Not this year. Next year, they can sign a right guard. They can sign a center. Those are the only two areas of need, in my opinion, for them. I think they will end up signing Tevin Jenkins to a second contract, and he'll stay at left guard. He's one of the best guards in the league, right? Braxton Jones, he can be a very solid quality starter at left tackle. And Darnell Wright, same deal at right tackle. They have the edges, the outside offensive line, just fine. The interior is the problem. But, like I said, it's not horrible. Coleman Shelton, I think, is their best option to start at center. And at right guard, I mean, pick your poison, I guess. Like, Nate Davis, Ryan Bates, really doesn't matter to me, Nate Davis isn't on the field half the time anyway. So if you put him out there or Ryan Bates, they're both, to me, equally as good. Most important thing is the Bears actually have depth at offensive line this time. Ryan Poles actually talked about that late in the offseason. Like, wow, this is the most depth we've had on this team so far, especially with the offensive line. He signed so many people. So yeah, offensive line, it's okay. It's okay. That's better, far better than what we've been able to say in the past. So I expect them to keep Caleb Williams upright at least half the time. That'd be more than in the past. And finally, the defense is primed for a huge year. You return all the people you had last year, which is awesome. But you also replace Eddie Jackson with Kevin Byard, one of the best tacklers at the safety position. A future Hall of Famer. I love that move. I love that move so much. And that was actually the first signing they had in free agency, was Kevin Byard. And the next was Swift. So defense is going to be amazing. Eric Washington takes over at defensive coordinator. It's already looking better. They're going to force a lot of turnovers. I don't know if they force as many interceptions as they did last year. How many did they have last year? 22. That was tied for most in the league. It's pretty hard to do 2 times in a row, right? But I do think they force a lot of turnovers. Hopefully more fumbles. I want to see more fumbles, and I want to see more fumble recoveries. Most importantly, I want to see the Bears finally take advantage of good field position after a turnover. It really seems like every time they force something, the offense never does anything to move the chains. So forcing an interception didn't do anything besides take 2 minutes off the clock. But anyway, defense is going to be really, really good this year. I'm super excited. The X factors of this season, again, bring it back to the top. Caleb Williams, can he handle the pressure in year one? he has so much riding on his shoulders as the quarterback of the Chicago Bears, not just the number one pick. And that's where I think people kind of overreact about Caleb, because, do I think he has the potential to be a star out the gate? Yeah, sure. That's where the pressure kind of comes from with me. But a lot of people think he's just going to be like the savior of the Bears. It doesn't have to be the case. All he has to do is be good. That's all he has to do. Just listen, make the smart play more often than not, and be yourself, and just go out there and do what you usually do. But people think he's going to be like the next Steve Young, and I don't think he needs to be that caliber of a player right out the gate. But can he handle the pressure of all of that? I think he can. Next X factor. Can Montez Sweat hold the line? That's a big one. I think that's the biggest one this year, It's one thing if Caleb Williams comes out looking a little sloppy, takes him some time to get acclimated to NFL speed and get all the I don't know what to call it. Just get all the rookie mistakes out of the way first, and then eventually you're fine. A bit different if Montez Sweat goes down with an injury and we are screwed. Okay? The Bears, as of right now, don't have a pass rush outside of Montez Sweat. Would be really cool, again, if Austin Booker comes out looking amazing, but I doubt that happens. I think that the rotation of him, Darrell Taylor, and DeMarcus Walker, they could combine for like 8 to 10 sacks, maybe. But that's a very low expectation for them. I'm not too sure. And Gervon Dexter, he hasn't quite taken that leap yet. And the Bears don't have much depth at defensive line as of right now. So if Montez Sweat doesn't stay at the top of his game all season long, it's going to be a long year. It's going to be a long year. Linebacking unit in the secondary, maybe they can take care of business if the defensive line can't get to the quarterback very often. But a lot is riding on Montez Sweat's shoulders right as of right now. Here's another big one. Really big X factor. Will Matt Eberflus take a leap as a head coach? Because I'm still not sold on him. I don't really think anybody is. He's a nice enough guy. He can call defensive plays when he's feeling aggressive anyway. But, I would argue the Bears missed out on 4 extra wins last year because of Eberflus. They had 3 or 4 games where they were up multiple scores and still lost. The Broncos game, they were up 28-7 at the half, lost. The Lions game, I was at that one. They were up, I think 28-13, lost. The Browns game, they were up 24-7 with 10 minutes left, lost. The Vikings game, even though Justin Fields was not there and Tyson Bagent was throwing the football, they lost by like 2 points or something like that, They really should have won all of these games. Really, really should have. I hate doing the whole shoulda, coulda, woulda thing with how an NFL season pans out. It's like, well, they should have done this. They should have done this. They didn't. That's really the end of the discussion, right? But I think that one of the main things that got in the way of those wins was Matt Eberflus and his clock management. He played a lot of scared defense, a lot of prevent defense in the tail end of games. And that hurt them. He needs to fix that. I hope he does. I hope he realizes this and he can actually get creative and aggressive going forward. And finally, the last X factor, which is not being talked about enough, it's being talked about a little bit, but not enough, is the way the NFL schedule is formatted this year. The NFL is trying to do Caleb Williams a solid. I think they did it on purpose, to be honest with you. They backloaded all of the biggest games to the second half of the season. The Bears don't play an NFC North rival until week 11 at home to the Packers. That's a big deal. That's a big deal. I mean, I would argue the first 10 weeks is pretty light. I'd go as far as to say it's easy, just based on how the Bears look right now. Obviously, nothing's easy in the NFL, but you know what I mean. The Bears are going to have a lot of time for Caleb to get comfortable. You know, he gets a couple losses out of the way, makes some mistakes, he gets those out of the way, and then by the time we got to play the NFC North, he's ready to go. I think they did that on purpose because if the Chicago Bears are good, that makes the NFL a lot of money. Just simple math there. Put 2 and 2 together. But yeah, the NFL schedule, that's going to play a huge part in how the Bears look from start to finish. Okay? With all of that being said, it's time to predict the schedule. All right? I said that it was going to be a quick one today. I'm going to try and fly through this. So, I am a huge meatball for the Chicago Bears. All right? I'm always overly optimistic. This is how it goes every year. Okay? 2 years ago, I said the Bears were going to win 6 games. They won 3. Last year, I said the Bears were going to win 10 games. They won 7. And this year, I'm feeling a bit better about the Bears than I did last year. Okay? And starting off against the Tennessee Titans, who are hurting. They're missing some players this weekend. Hopkins doesn't look like he's going to play. Jamal Adams is not going to play. I think the Bears are going to have some really good chances to put up some points. They have a new defensive coordinator, new staff basically, new head coach, new offensive coordinator, new offensive scheme. And Will Levis is officially the full-time starter for the Titans. Will that work out? I don't know. I really don't know. I'm not that high on the Titans right now. And it's at home, you know? So I think the Bears start off with a W. Then they go to Houston. They got to play the Texans. Yeah, not much to say about that. The Houston Texans are really good. They just signed Danielle Hunter and C.J. Stroud. Is going to be amazing. And he just got a new target. Who was it? Stephon Diggs? He just got Stephon Diggs. What else do I need to say? That's a loss. Then they go to the Colts. I'm not high on the Colts. Not a big Anthony Richardson guy. They could make it work with them, but they're not there yet. Okay? That's a win. Then the Bears host the Rams. We come back home. We host Matthew Stafford. I'm going to go ahead and say this one's a loss. It's just not easy to beat that level of experience as a rookie quarterback. You know, they're going to throw some things at him that he has not seen before. You know, and Matt Stafford is such a good quarterback. So many great weapons on his own team. You know, Puka Nacua, Cooper Kupp. They're going to be fine. You know, I like the Rams to win that one. Then the Bears host the Panthers. This is where things start to get really fun, in my opinion. The Bears host the Panthers. Keep in mind, the Bears still have the Panthers' second round pick for this year's upcoming draft. Yeah, that's a win. We're going to destroy the Panthers at home. And then we go to London. We got to play the Jaguars. The Jags are going to be a little better than people expect them to be. I like Trevor Lawrence. I like Brian Thomas. I like Christian Kirk. They have so many weapons. Evan Ingram. The only thing for them, to me, is the defense. There's just nobody that truly stands out on that side of the ball to me besides Josh Allen. But that being said, this is a neutral site. Both the Bears and the Jags are pretty popular in London. So I think this is going to be a Bears win. The defense is just too light. And the Bears are going to put up a lot of points. It might even turn into a shootout, just depending on how this goes. But I say the Bears win, and then week 7 is a bye. Week 8, at the Commies. We got to play the Commanders. Number 1 versus number 2? Right? Jaden Daniels was taken second overall, I think. Yeah, he was, because Drake May was number 3. Yes. I think the Bears win that one. So, during the draft process, I outed myself as a really big Jaden Daniels hater. I just don't see it, man. I just don't. I do think that he and Terry McLaurin will be a nice little combo there, but they're missing so much on defense. The defense is going to be so bad. I'm not going to lie to you. And then you're talking about the Bears defense against a rookie quarterback. We are going to slaughter them. We're going to beat the Commanders. And then still on the road, we got to play the Cardinals. This one scares me. This one honestly scares me because Jonathan Gannon is a better coach than we give him credit for. Cardinals are going to be surprisingly good this year. And a healthy Kyler Murray always means good things. But, again, I'm a meatball here, okay? This is just how I operate. I think the Cardinals are still a very beatable team right now. Very, very young, very beatable. And the Bears don't have too many bad experiences on the road to Arizona. The last few times we went to Arizona, I believe we won all of them. So, including last year. So, I believe the Bears beat the Cardinals. Bears versus the Patriots. They're one of the worst teams in the NFL. I'm sorry. We're going to destroy the Patriots. Bears versus the Packers. Now, after tonight, I'm filming this after the Bears or the Packers played the Eagles, right? And Jordan Love just went down with an injury. I don't know how serious the injury is. None of us know if it's like season ending. We don't know what happened. High ankle sprain or MCL, ACL tear. He went off the field with his own power. So hopefully nothing too crazy. But that is going to play a major factor into how this season turns out. If Jordan Love does not play, if he's not able to return for the Packers, their season is over. There is nobody who's available to replace him. Malik Willis ain't going to replace him. I actually think they would, they'd probably sign somebody before they let that happen. Ryan Tannehill, maybe. But I'm going to make my prediction assuming that Jordan Love plays. And assuming Jordan Love plays, it's going to be the same old stuff. The Packers win, even at home. I don't think, I'm going to treat this how I used to treat Michigan, Ohio State. They just have our number. They've had our number for the last decade. If I don't see it with my own eyes, the Packers will beat the Bears. End of story. Next is the Vikings. The Bears host the Vikings. It seemed like they really wanted J.J. McCarthy to play before he tore his ACL. And it just seems for some reason like they don't trust Sam Darnold at all. But I don't know. I think either way, they were going to be hurting this year. Missing Kirk Cousins, and they're not going to be a very good football team. Very good defensively. But overall, I just don't trust them. I really don't. I think the Bears sweep the Vikings this year. And then, Bears at Lions on Thanksgiving. I'll say that's a loss, even though the Bears have a fantastic track record against the Lions on Thanksgiving. I don't know. It just seems like this year is the year for the Lions. They'll take care of business at home. That'll be an insane crowd. And what a game to look forward to, you know, Caleb Williams versus the Super Bowl hopeful Lions. But yeah, that'll be a loss. Bears at 49ers after that. That's a loss. Not much to be said there. 49ers could go to the Super Bowl also. They're just stacked everywhere. They're scary. Bears at the Vikings. Again, we're sweeping them. That's a win. Bears versus the Lions. I think they take this one home. I think the Bears come out on top of this one. We have a great track record against Jared Goff at home. I don't know what it is. The guy just doesn't like cold weather in Chicago. And the Lions, in case you guys haven't noticed or heard yet, the Lions play, I think, all but 3 or 4 games indoors. And, yeah, I think that 16 weeks into the season, that will not be good for them playing against a very hungry Chicago Bears team. We will split with them. We should have won both games last year. Should have. Again, shoulda, coulda, woulda. We didn't. I was there at that Bears-Lions game where we just, I don't even know what to call it. That was a tragedy. That was bad. This time, though, it won't be the case at home. We're going to take care of business, beat the Lions. Then, Bears versus Seahawks. Seahawks, I think, can be a sneaky good team, but we will beat the Seahawks. 3-game winning streak. And then, last game of the year, Bears at Packers. Again, assuming Jordan Love comes back and he's healthy and he'll be fine by that point, the Bears will lose. I can't remember the last time the Bears went to Lambeau and won. No, actually, I can. It was Brett Favre's jersey retirement night. It was Brett Favre night. I'm pretty sure that's the last time we beat the Packers at Lambeau. It's a long time. That was like, what, 2015? Wow, 2015. It's almost 10 years ago. That's crazy. Yeah, we're not beating the Packers. Okay, that's my prediction there. So, overall, the Bears season will end with an 11-6 record. I think that will be good for second in the NFC North and probably a wild card spot. Yes, 11 wins for a wild card spot. It's kind of wild to think about. But the NFC North is looking really good right now. So that's just kind of how I see that it'll pan out. We have to keep a close eye on the Jordan Love situation. If he doesn't play for the rest of the year, I think that's 2 wins for the Bears. I really, really do. Because, I mean, who do they get to replace him? That's an insane situation to be in, you know, especially as a Packers fan. You wait so long and you have such high hopes to maybe shock a lot of people, and this happens in the last 2 plays of the game. Just unfortunate, man. You never like to see something like that happen. But yeah, that's how I see it. If Love plays, we lose. If he doesn't play, we win. I'm assuming we lose those games. And there you have it. There is my Chicago Bears season schedule prediction, record prediction. I like it. I like it. I think we're going to start off hot this season. We're going to beat the Titans convincingly. Caleb Williams will have a good day, and we can all go to bed happy on Sunday. And there you go. The next time I join you guys for this podcast, we'll talk about the turnout of both the Michigan-Texas game and the Bears-Titans game, but we'll go more in depth on Michigan, where they stand, what are the things that stood out to us for that game. 2 games in, how do we feel about Davis Warren and Alex Orji? Who should stay the starter, or do we think someone else should replace him? Could it be Jaden Davis or some other? I don't know. Jaden Denagle, whoever else. And what is going on with Ward Manuel, one of my least favorite people, and Sharon Moore? We've got some weird stuff going on in Ann Arbor ahead of a huge matchup. I don't know. It's just strange times for the Wolverines. But there you go. I'm going to be live on TikTok for both of those games if you want to join me. If not, until next time, I've been your host, Isaiah Bella. Thank you for joining me. This has been the Midwest Sports Hour. Until next time, peace.